From Church Militant Studios, this is the Church Militant Evening News.
Hello and thank you for joining us this Thursday, March 9th. I'm Kim Tizer along with James Fedewa here with Catholic News and Context. Tonight, a friend of Church Militant just got a big win in court. The Diocese of Fake Catholic Joe Biden wants to break the seal of confession, and this German prelate warns the faithful against the synodal way. Leading us off tonight, good news for a longtime friend of Church Militant. Stephen Brady of Roman Catholic faithful got handed a court victory last Friday in a years-long legal battle against accused former priest Monsignor Craig Harrison.
Now that it's over, it's just a matter we have to collect the money awarded to us for legal fees by the court, and that's something that the lawyers will take care of, I'm sure. And I'm going to push this as far as I can. But now it gives me some breathing room because I can get back to this. Occupied a lot of my time and a lot of our finances. So now I can get back to some of the other work. The biggest thing I'm working on right now is the allegations of money laundering by against the Vatican.
Back in 2019, Harrison sued Roman Catholic faithful for defamation, seeking unlimited damages from Brady and RCF. On April 25th, 2019, Harrison was put on administrative leave owing to an accusation that he abused an altar boy. Since then, dozens have come out and accused the former Fresno diocese priest.
Sham Catholic Biden's hometown diocese is defending the seal of confession against state lawmakers. A Delaware state representative recently introduced a bill to remove the confidentiality of confession between a priest and penitent when it involves child abuse. The Diocese of Wilmington responded, "The sacrament of confession and its seal of confession is a fundamental aspect of the Church's sacramental theology and practice. It is non-negotiable." The diocese also noted that breaching the seal of confession would incur an automatic excommunication on the priest.
In other news, a German cardinal is warning against his nation's errant synodal way again. Cardinal Walter Kasper commented on the Heterodox Assembly ahead of its final meeting this week, cautioning, quote, "You cannot reinvent the church." One of the texts heading to a vote this week claims all ordained ministries and pastoral vocations in the church should be open to the intersex and transgender baptized and confirmed. This after the Pope and hundreds of prelates around the world have warned the synodal way against schism.
Moving over to Germany, our week-long coverage of the German synodal path continues, and we're going to bring on Dr. William Mahoney to talk about what some Vatican higher-ups are saying about der synodal Weg. Doctor, how was my German there? Was that good?
Very good. Very
awesome.
Good.
Sweet.
Just have to try to sound a little creepier.
There we go. Yeah, I got to work
Weg.
But so what are some people from the Vatican and some official condemnations saying about this?
Yeah, well, the Pope himself has even said at one point, Germany doesn't need another Protestant church. I mean, he himself said that. So he's given warnings about it, even though he has going on now the synod on synodality. But but that one's not as overt as what the Germans are doing. And then, for example, Cardinal Ouellet, who's in charge of the Congregation for Bishops, he's a Canadian prelate. He's not known for his fantastic orthodoxy, but he said, like, this is destructive to the unity of the church because they keep questioning the authority of the church. They have this idea they're pushing, linking the clergy sex abuse crisis to a kind of systemic problem in the church, rather than it being individual bad men who do bad things with the cover-up. They're actually trying to blame the structure of the church itself. So so that it's a systemic problem built into the very nature of the church, which is of course not the case. It's bad men manipulating things and so on. And then another one is Cardinal Ladaria, who's the CDF, the Confraternity of the Doctrine of the Faith. He put out, I think it was 5 points that were really he was concerned about the Das Synodal Weg. He talked about, for example, women ordination again. He said what I was saying earlier this week is the church can't change that. It's just that's from our Lord, but from his own decisions.
Yeah.
And the church has clarified that many times, and he's given other reasons too to be very concerned about what they're trying to do, and that they're really just causing division, and they're going to cause yet another schism in the church.
Doctor, I want to touch on like Pope Francis's statement. You mentioned his. He has the power to put an end to this, doesn't he? I mean, and he sees. He himself said, Germany doesn't need a Protestant Reformation again. Can he do more? Like, should he do more? I think a lot of people are looking to Pope Francis. Like, are you going to keep letting this happen? What's going on here?
He's the Pope. He's the universal legislator in the church. He has the full power to do anything he wants. He can tell them all, knock it off, stop. I've just put an end to this. And he has ultimately he can depose them. He can take away orders, and as much as they can be taken away, he can excommunicate if necessary down the road. Yes, of course, he's the Pope. He has full power over it. Remember, like from the Acts of the Apostles, that Ananias and Sapphira, they joined the church community, and they all gave up their possessions, but they were stealing. They were keeping some for themselves. And Peter questioned them, talked to them separately, and he said, why would you, when you had what was yours, you could have kept it, but you chose to give it, and then you held some back. He said, because you've done this, your body's going to be carried outside dead. And they both of them dropped dead and were carried outside the city. The Pope has enormous power on earth. So of course Francis could put an end to this like that if he wanted to.
Well, we will await the day that he does, Doctor. And again, thank you for coming on, and we'll probably see you again tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
God bless.
As always, good information. Turning now to Cameroon, where citizens are mourning the loss of a beloved priest who was kidnapped and murdered. Details surrounding the assassination of Father Oliver Saw Ebode are just beginning to surface. Some witnesses say Ebode was lured out of his home by men claiming a sick loved one needed to see him. This happened during the early morning hours of March 1st. His lifeless body was discovered along a roadside later that day. Violence in Cameroon has resulted in the slaughter of at least 6,000 people since 2017.
Climate change vandals are facing up to 3 years in jail for vandalizing a priceless sculpture in the Vatican museums. Guido Viero and Esther Goffey, who glued themselves last August to the statue of Laocoon and his sons, have refused to attend the trial, which begins today in a Vatican court. The activists accuse Pope Francis of double standards, noting, quote, the shocking contrast between the Pope's words, which incites youth to cry out louder concern for the future of life on earth, and the way justice is administered in the Vatican state. A technical report cited by the Vatican claims that it had to spend roughly $16,000 US to repair the statue.
And bringing us all the sticky details is our very own Rome correspondent, Dr. Jules Gomez. Jules, did you see what I did there? The sticky details?
Yeah.
The hands. Anyway, well, thank you for being back on with us tonight. Is there any reason the activists targeted this particular statue, or was it just chosen at random?
Well, Kim, that's a fascinating question, because they chose the statue of Laocoon and his sons. Now, the story is amazing because Laocoon was a Trojan priest, and this is the time of the Trojan Wars, and he warned the Trojans not to let the horse that was presented to them by the Greeks enter the city of Troy. But he had these prophetic gifts, and the Trojans ignored him, and they let the horse in, and we know the end of the story. But after he did that, the Greek gods were very angry with him for warning his fellow citizens what was going to happen, and they sent down 2 gigantic snakes who killed him and his sons. But what these activists were trying to say is that, look, he warned you, and we are warning you now that climate change is going to devastate the world, and apocalyptic times are just ahead.
Well, at least they put some thought into it, I guess. Well, tell us, what was the real extent of the damage? Is it as serious as the Vatican makes it out to be?
I spoke to my source in the Vatican museums, and that person told me that the the expenses, the costs of repair have been grossly exaggerated because the damage, if you can call it that, was very minor. And this person is wondering why the Vatican is, kind of coming up with this estimate that is totally out of proportion compared to the couple of busts that were damaged in August last year by a crazy American tourist who went into the Montefiore, Chiara Monte Museum, and toppled two busts, and that actually cost a lot of money, and the damage was significant.
Well, yes, I know initially the activists said no damage had been done to the statue. So I guess we'll keep following this to see what happens to them. Again, thanks for being with us to give us the latest. Jules Gomez.
Thank you, Kate.
All righty. Today, Catholic bishops on the East Coast are leading their flock in prayer as state lawmakers consider several deadly bills. Bishop William Koenig of Wilmington, Archbishop William Lori of Baltimore, and Cardinal Wilton Gregory of Washington are hosting a vigil in St. Mary's Church in Annapolis. The prayer vigil will happen just as Maryland lawmakers will be debating radical abortion and euthanasia bills in the state legislature. If you want more info on the vigil, go to mdcatholic.org/vigil for life. Again, mdcatholic.org/vigil for life. But when we come back, a huge win for life in the Sunshine State of Florida, and multiple pro-life organizations distance themselves from an accused pro-life priest. Stay tuned to all that and more up next.
Thank you for watching the first half of Church Militant Evening News.
If you would like to watch the rest of today's episode, please click the link in the description, and we'll see you at churchmilitant.com. God love you.